Hello, welcome to WFNY TV. Today, we're going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs have been struggling, to put it lightly, of late. They have one of the worst net ratings in the league over the last couple of weeks. I believe since December 15th, they're the second worst or one of the worst. And a pretty good showing against the Golden State Warriors in what looked like it was going to be a pretty exciting moral victory. Turned ugly pretty quickly as the Cavs started pointing fingers and LeBron did his annual "we need help" cry. So the trade deadline is coming, I believe February 8th. So it's time to start looking at some options. Truthfully, I don't know that they need to make a big trade. Jay Crowder is one of the guys who probably needs to be replaced, but I don't know that you're getting anything better than Jay Crowder in the trade market, which makes it pretty difficult. You're going to be trading for a worse player than what you have. You just need him to play up to what you expect his level to be. J.R. Smith is another guy who, if he was 2016 J.R. Smith, we're all happy, but he's not. He's been struggling. That one feels a little bit less correctable. I don't know that I expect him to suddenly be the shirtless guy at the parade that we all fell in love with. He's not hitting shots. He's not defending. And maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe he sees a couple go down and it all clicks for him. But I think we're past, panic mode here, and we needed to look at replacements. He was not great last year either, even with good excuses. The last guy is Tristan Thompson. Thompson's a weird case because I know he's everybody's favorite whipping boy, but I don't know that he's been particularly terrible. But in the role that he's in, it's hard to be effective. If Lou doesn't want to pull Kevin Love from the center position, which makes some sense because Love's been putting up his best season offensively since he came to Cleveland, but it provides the Cavs with literally just nothing at the rim for protection. Kevin Love can't protect the rim. He just physically isn't there. Jay Crowder at the power forward, he's 6'6". He's not going to provide anything there. LeBron has a lot of highlight blocks, but I don't know that he's putting much fear in teams that he's going to hang around the rim enough to really do much. The Cavs have had so much success in the past with Tristan Thompson at center and Kevin Love at power forward. But it doesn't seem that Lou's willing to do that. So it's probably time to look at options that might force his hand to do that and play more of a traditional center. So trade deadline's moved up. It's February 8th, which means there are fewer teams who are ready to sell off, who are ready to admit defeat. A lot of them still have playoff revenue in their minds, dancing through the owners' minds, and don't want to sell off pieces yet. But there's a couple of teams that definitely are ready to start looking at options and looking to get assets for the players that they have. First being Dallas. Dallas is not good. They're hit on Dennis Smith Jr. It looks like he's going to be great. It's a point guard for that team for the future, but they have just a lot of pieces that don't make a lot of sense to hold on to as they're trying to rebuild. They're clearly going to be one of the worst teams in the league, and they probably just want to secure that position. So trading those some veterans might make sense. Wes Matthews is probably the one that makes the most sense for the Cavs. He is a great shooter. He can play in the wing. He can play, replace J.R. Smith. He is graded up pretty horribly defensively. He used to be a great defender. He hurt his Achilles right before signing with Dallas. He hasn't been the same defender since. But he still hits a ton of threes. And part of the Cavaliers' problem is just not hitting shots, which creates a transition for the other team. The Cavaliers are just dead as soon as it gets in transition. They're old, they're slow, and they're just bad at it. They like to just say they're old and slow and pretend it's that, but they're also just very bad at it. So Wes Matthews would be a guy who could come in, maybe just hit those shots, get the offense going, just going to get the whole team going and limit some of those chances for the other team. The other obvious guy there is Nerlens Noel. He is hyper athletic. I think we've all seen some of the highlights. We're all intrigued by it, but he's also had two coaches now sour on him and pretty much refused to play him. So there's obviously something there. Now he's a clutch client, so there's that LeBron tie-in. LeBron's got other guys to play on their best behavior before, so it wouldn't be shocking if he could come to Cleveland and find some success. He's also a long-term asset if you want him to be. So if he comes in and does well, you've got the first crack at trying to re-sign him. It's a young player you can build around a little bit. So if LeBron stays, you've got some youth that he has a connection to, and if he leaves, you've got some youth to start building around. They'll have a Brooklyn pick, they'll have a guy like Nerlens Noel, and that's not a terrible start. So that's not so bad. The last guy is Harrison Barnes, and it hurts my mouth to say that because I spent so long trashing him online. I think I referred to him as the next Michael Jordan of the week at one point because there's so much hype of him coming out. He just never really looked like a guy who could live up to it. But in a role that the Cavs would need, he probably makes some sense. He can hit threes. He can defend from the power forward position. He's athletic enough. So I do think that there's a huge salary. There's no real reason for Dallas to want to move on. But if the Cavaliers get crazy and are really trying to blow things up, and say the Brooklyn pick or Kevin Love or something like that is available, then I do think that he would be a guy that they could look at. Another team that might look to trade off a little bit of parts, but is kind of doubtful at this point, is the Miami Heat. They're in a weird predicament because they're doing extremely well. I believe they're fourth in the East right now, the 4th seed, nipping at the Cavs' heels. Some guys like Wayne Ellington, who's in the last year of the deal, and they might just look to get out under some salaries. Guys, there's James Johnson has a big salary, and it's going to take a long time. We've got some young guys like Justice Winslow, who just isn't playing much. And then they have guys like Josh Richardson, who is an important part of their team. But Pat Riley's always looking for the next big move. And so again, if the Cavs are looking at a Kevin Love or a Brooklyn pick trade, they could probably quite a few parts away. Maybe Richardson, Winslow, and the part that could help right now. Ellington might be available just because he is gone at the end of the year, and they might just look to recoup anything, even though he's an important part of their team. But he would fit well as a 2-guard. He, again, not great defensively, but I believe 85% of his shot attempts are threes, which is just mind-blowing. So he would be a huge help in that regard, just being able to hit open threes, which somehow JR's not. JR's not even able to hit not open threes, which used to be his bread and butter. So that's tough. The Jazz are a team that's really interesting to me. Derek Favors is a guy who could come in, provide some athleticism at the 5, some rim protection. He's not a great defender, but he can still protect the rim some. He's a good offensive player. He can score. He can run pick and roll a little bit. So he would be definitely an interesting guy that I think that they would offload fairly cheap, and definitely be somebody that I would be interested in. They also have some younger guys like Rodney Hood, who's fallen out of favor. Not fallen out of favor, but he's been hurt so much that he's not as important to them long term as he once was. Dante Exum is another guy. Dante Exum, excuse me, is another guy that might be interesting. That they just haven't seemed to climb on too much, and he might be available for the right price. But I think that the big prize there, if you're willing to part with a big piece, would be Joe Ingles. So maybe you could put together a package of Ingles and some of those young guys, maybe Ingles and Favors, and a young guy or something. But he's a great 3-point shooter. He can guard multiple positions, smart, can pass, just does everything well. He's a really nice blue guy, kind of what Crowder is supposed to be. So he'd be an interesting one to look at. The Kings are obviously terrible, and they've announced that they're going to start resting 2 or 3 veterans a night. So Vince Carter might be available, a guy who used to be the top scorer and use every possession for good teams. A really good superstar, has somehow aged really well into a really quality role player, even into his 40s. So he can shoot a little bit. He's savvy. He kind of seems Dwayne Wade loses athleticism, but still be smart enough to provide positive defensive impact here and there for the Cavaliers, and Vince Carter might be able to do that as well. Obviously, adding that much more age isn't great, but it's something to look at. The guy who I'm probably more interested in than anybody is George Hill. George Hill is kind of Swiss Army knife. He's been point guard most of his career. He had those great years in Indiana. He had a great year last year in Utah. And he can shoot, he can defend, he can pass, he can run an offense. He can do a little bit of everything. He's kind of a better version of Delonte West, who is sacred in these parts. So he's somebody who would interest me in the fact that he could play the 2 spot. He's short. He's, I believe, 6'3", but he's a long wingspan. So he could fill in there and play a lot of roles. He could also play point guard. There's going to be a lot of times where Isaiah Thomas just is getting beat off the court because of his height and his defensive issues, and George Hill could fill in there. He also provides you insurance if Isaiah Thomas gets hurt, or if you don't want to have to re-sign Isaiah Thomas at the end of the year. You have another point guard who can fill in at that spot and take you into next year. He also has a unique contract. He's making $20 million this year, $19 next year, and $18 the following year. But that $18 only has $1 million guaranteed. So that's going to be a big trade asset for teams that are looking to shed salary and try to sign players before that offseason. So he's interesting in a few ways. He's interesting now. He's interesting next year, whether if LeBron will leave. It's also interesting as a trade asset. So that's something I'm pretty excited about. Finally, Orlando. They don't have a ton of guys I think the Cavs will be interested. Evan Fournier is one who would probably be a good fit. He might be a little bit expensive, but I think he could help the Cavs somewhat. If the Cavs got really crazy and offered the Brooklyn pick, there might be a chance that Orlando would part with Aaron Gordon, who has really kind of shown himself out this year. He's turned into the star that people I think thought he could be. He's not a superstar, but he's had a really, really good season, and there might be a chance that things are just so dire there that the Brooklyn pick might entice them, although I doubt it because he looks like a guy that they'll try to build on from here on out. But speaking of the Brooklyn pick, if you have no life like me and you spend all of your time looking at the standings and looking at what Brooklyn's doing, they are kind of in that glut at the bottom of the standings. It looks like Atlanta and Orlando and Sacramento just are going to be the worst teams in the league, and there's no way that they're going to finish worse than those teams. Brooklyn's been surprisingly spry and a lot of effort. Even after losing Jared Lynn and D'Angelo Russell, they've really come out and competed and won some games that you really didn't expect them to win. So they've been having a better season than most expected. I would guess Phoenix would probably drop below them at some point because Phoenix just loves to tank, and they don't have a lot of talent on that roster to stop themselves from tanking if they wanted to. So that puts Brooklyn pick at best probably about the 5 spot. There's a lot of teams that are right around them. That same area, Dallas. But Dallas has been winning a lot lately. You've got Charlotte. Charlotte's been winning again lately. Their starters actually have good, the top 6 players actually all have good positive net ratings. It's the bench that they can't do much with. So it'll be interesting what they do at the deadline, if they add or if they trade off pieces. You've got the Lakers at the bottom of the standings, but with Lonzo Ball back, they've been playing a little bit better. Ball, surprisingly, there's a lot of trashing him, and I'm not a huge fan of his game, but he's clearly a good player. He's just not playing at the superstar level that I think everyone kind of predicted or wanted to see. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers start playing well, unless they try to trade some parts off to free up cap space for their big fish that they're chasing in free agency this year. So there's other teams. Memphis is getting that Conley back, so you expect them to play a little bit better coming down the stretch. And there's just a lot of teams like that seem to be playing a little bit better. Chicago just got Zach LaVine back. Now they're likely to trade below Mirotic, but I assume that LaVine would offset that somewhat. And they're getting a ton of help from a lot of their younger players. Kristan has come there and played really well. So there's a pretty decent chance that they're going to finish better than Brooklyn too. So Brooklyn pick is looking like a 5th or 6th or 7th type selection in a very deep draft. That could still end up with like a Michael Porter Jr. kind of a player, or Mohamed Bauer kind of player. Somebody like that. It's still pretty exciting. So it's a deep draft. I'm kind of hoping that they hold on to the piece unless somebody like Paul George comes available. But we'll see what they do. I'm guessing they hold it as a contingency plan, just in case LeBron decides to take his talents to some other city, whether it's Hollywood or somewhere else. So that's your quick Cavaliers update. Check the link in the comments below for my article that posted that talks about a lot of these same trade options, and subscribe please to our channel. We're going to try to start cranking out more and more content here at WFNY TV, and hopefully you enjoy it, hopefully you subscribe, hopefully you watch more, hopefully tell your friends, and enjoy everything we've got going on. Thanks.